I'm not sure how to start this podcast today. Last night, as I was going to bed, I was scrolling through Facebook, which is never a good idea before you're trying to go to sleep, and saw a post that another friend and fellow entertainer had passed, and not really, I mean, don't know the details, but the details are secondary to the fact that someone that you care about and appreciate and love as a human and respect as a performer is just gone. They're just gone. They're not here. And so it's weird, man. I wasn't sure if I was going to put a podcast out today. Kind of put the brakes on it. Normally it would already have been out when everyone wakes up, and really debated, should I even put one out? And then I thought, the whole reason we have this podcast is so that entertainers know that they're not alone. It's because we all have moments where we don't know what's up or down, and we're not sure why we're doing what we're doing. The truth is, guys, is we all have those days. We have those days a lot. You're not alone. You're not the only one going through things. As awful as it feels in the moment, know that you are not alone, and there are people that love you and care for you deeply. And because of that, I felt like, let's put out a conversation this week. Let's not go silent in the midst of a time when maybe people don't know how to feel and think, and let's let each other know we're there for each other. So again, I don't know what to say. This feels like, it feels like anything you say is inappropriate, and so we're just gonna jump into a conversation. I'm very, very excited that this conversation happened. This was recorded literally 2 days ago in Florida. I was on a trip, and traveling can be lonely, when you're traveling by yourself. And I had a couple days in between events on the East Coast. And I had a friend who reached out to me, and he said, "Hey, I'm in Florida too. I saw you're in Florida." And then I reached back to him and said, let's get together. And we spent not one, but 2 afternoons together. And it was wonderful. It was one of these things that was unplanned, and yet it was a beautiful time. And I was shocked as we were hanging out. Vance and I have known each other for a couple of years, and I was shocked that he said to me, "This is only the second time that we've seen each other in person." And the reason I was shocked is it felt like, well, I know this guy really well. We talk all the time and text throughout the year, and we've tried to set up like a one-on-one get-together numerous times. And all of that happened because when we met one time and we said, let's stay in touch, we actually did. So when he'd be traveling and see something he thought I would think was funny, he would shoot me a text, and we did the thing that we all say we're going to do. We stayed in touch, and we developed this really fun long distance friendship. And it was great to sit down with him and to talk. And it's just another reminder that there are people out there for you if you just reach out. And maybe you feel like you don't need anyone, maybe you feel like, I'm fine, I'm good, everything's solid. Well, someone else needs you. So friends, let's be there for one another. Let's ride this roller coaster together. And I don't know what else to say other than the fact that life is precious, guys. We've got a few moments together on this spinning rock in the sky. Let's hang on to each other and take the turns together. I hope that you find some encouragement in this conversation with Vance. I apologize for any thing we may have said that would be unsensitive or stupid at this point. Since this was recorded a few days ago, I'm not sure what is all in there. I do know that it's very silly at times, and it's very vulnerable at times, but I hope that you find encouragement in it. It was a super encouraging conversation for me. So here it is, guys, episode 76 of the podcast. 2 friends sitting in Florida having an unplanned conversation. We hope you enjoy eavesdropping. Love you guys.
Okay.
Something is about to break.
I'm gonna start recording.
And just let the
Here's
spirit
the
lead.
thing: if we don't start recording, okay. Hey, everybody, welcome to About to Break. I'm your host Taylor Hughes, and I'm sitting in my awkward hotel room, straddling a flight case with microphones on top, and on the other side is Vance Fite.
Hello.
Did I say your name right?
That is my name.
I've never met him.
That is my God-given Christian name.
Here's what's funny is Vance and I feel like we were just having this conversation. I feel like we've known each other forever.
A lengthy amount of time.
It seems like, oh yeah, we went to elementary school together. And you told me today, you literally were hanging out. We spent all day together. We haven't recorded. And you just told me, you're like, do you know this is only the second time we've seen each other in person?
To be fair, we have literally been trying to hang out for the past 2 years. And we are currently in a state that neither one of us live in. Because every time we end up in a state that the other person lives in, the person is not there.
Yeah.
Or the schedule doesn't work out. And it's literally like 2 years we've been trying to hang out.
Vance and I wet. We wet each other.
We got wet.
Vance and I wet. What am I doing?
It was wet, all right.
Vance and I met. We met a couple years ago.
Yes.
Doing a random event where I was doing some magic stuff, and you were kind of working side hustle.
Yes, doing production things in the background.
Yep. And we had a fun time over a couple days hanging out and talking
did.
about life. And then we stayed in contact. We actually did the thing that people say they're going to do. You know, we're like, that was great. We should get together.
Yep.
In LA, people say that kind of stuff, and then you never see them again.
That's fair.
And then like 6 months later, you run into them at a cafe, and you're like, this is awkward, but we should do that thing.
I thought I saved your number. Let me get this again real
Dude,
quick.
Here's the thing. I was running this project, and then we got really busy, and now we're in like back end production. So like, I feel like now that we're in post, I feel like we could really like get together. And then you don't see him again for like 6 months. But this is funny. We've stayed in contact.
We have.
We've talked on cellular devices.
We have.
And text messaging.
Who knew that those devices were meant for that?
Right. It's like, oh, I guess we just have to see each other sometime somewhere.
It's true.
But now we're in Florida. And it's hot and gross.
It is so hot.
Do people, friends that live in Florida, have you been to the other places? Do you know there's options? Because I'm shocked every time I come here. I'm like, I forget. I've been to Florida. If you come to Florida in like the spring, it's amazing for like 3 weeks. And then it's just sticky.
To be fair, so I have family in the Panhandle. So I have always felt like I come to Florida.
Right.
And I have. Like, it's not that it's not Florida, but
where is the Panhandle?
So like the straight down, the part that curves left towards Alabama is the Panhandle.
It doesn't look like a pan.
Well, you can take that up with Florida. It's not.
I know. Okay,
I didn't make the name.
I'm sorry.
So, but I feel like, I mean, it's a beach, but it also, the weather, like in terms of humidity, is comparable to Georgia, where I grew up.
Yeah.
I think. And so it's like, oh, it's hot, it's humid, it feels normal. And we are currently like outside of Orlando or in Orlando or something like that. And, man, it is real humid here.
It's so gross, dude. We were out.
It is palpable.
We found this really rad. We went to go get some food. And first of all,
we saw so many things.
I've never been to Orlando.
We didn't go farther than 3 miles from your hotel, and we saw many things.
Orlando is like, you know, you think of Disneyland, right? Epcot Center. But they freaking have a theme park for everything. There is a Holy Land theme park here. Did you know that?
No,
like
but
2 miles
go
away.
So bad.
It's called the Holy Land Experience.
What do you experience?
I don't know. I think it's really sad and everyone's fighting.
Every joke I want to make, I know it's going to be so bad.
Probably what I just said was inappropriate.
I was about to take it to another level. It's still early.
Take it to the limit. We should try to sing as many songs as we can.
I like that. This is like when a show does a low-key musical episode that they just work into the script where, like, I don't watch Supergirl, but my wife does.
Oh, yeah.
And I think there's an episode
like
where there was
Scrubs did it. And,
like every time there's a guest character that's typically from musical theater, all of a sudden they find some weird way that is the reason that everybody has to be singing that episode.
Yes.
this can be that episode.
This should be, okay,
break.
this is going to be it, guys. This will be the, we're 4 minutes in and we have decided that we're going to sing as many songs. So here's the deal, Vance. I feel like both you and I can get a little ADD.
I don't know any clue what you're talking about.
What? I've never been tested, but I'd ace it.
That doesn't sound like us at all.
So as we sit here in this awkward hotel room with our knees almost touching while we're both straddling a ATA flight case.
I also love how, like, our gaze, like, I like to make eye contact with people, but we're
very close.
Are intimately close.
I'll post a picture for this episode. You guys can go on the on the site there on the show notes on abouttobreakpodcast.com and see how close we are. It's very, but it's not uncomfortable at all.
I'm cool with it. I like it.
Yeah.
There is a visual.
There is a visual. First of all, when you travel, and we can talk about this. This is on point with the topic of the old podcast. When you travel, there seems to be two types of travel. There's the travel when it's all inclusive, when it's like a big corporate client, and they're going to pay for it, and they're going to put you in a nice spot. And you're going to travel in a nice vehicle. And then there's the one like this where I am on a budget on this trip because I'm getting paid for one of the 4 days I'm here.
Mm-hmm. To be fair, though, I still think this is on the high side of the lower bracket. Yes. Like anyone who stayed in like a La Quinta, like a ghetto La Quinta, that's pretty bad. Man, it goes way lower than La Quinta. On a scale of like 1 to 10... La Quinta is like a strong 4.5. I stayed in the off season at a summer camp when no one was there. It was like like during the summer, it was like a Christian youth summer camp. But my buddy's like, "Hey, dude, I can get you a hotel room for free when you come through Dallas." And I'm like, "Sweet." Keith is listening. I'm like, "Sweet, man, that's awesome." He's like, "Yeah, I'll be staying there with the family. We're in our RV, but they got a hotel right there, and they'll put you up for free." I'm like, "Sweet." So I go to Nowheresville, Texas, to stay at this hotel, and imagine a summer camp dorm. And then imagine that nobody had been in that room for 3 months and like the Texas bugs have taken over. And I swear to you, I spent the entire night with like a spray bottle trying to like kill ants that were trying to attack me. You got to start traveling with one of those mosquito nets that they have in Africa. So the malaria doesn't get me. So yes, so here we are. This hotel is an interesting hotel, man. Like you can tell exactly what's going on. When I explain this, you're going to get it. Yeah. Because I booked this on the internet. And on the internet, this is one of those rooms that if you took the right angled picture of this, it would look pretty sweet. Yeah. So, all you can go off is the pictures and the reviews. When you pull up to the outside of this place, it looks sketchy, to say the least. Describe it, Vance. It is questionable. It's not the creepiest thing I've been, but like, yeah, it's where all there's no hallways, so like all the rooms open up to the outside world. So I'll say this: stereotypes exist in the world, and I feel like you can attach monetary status to certain stereotypes when you are traveling. Okay, and I think there are certain brackets that you hit that you expect to pay, like whether that's $100 a night or $200 a night and upwards, or if you start going down and you're like, it was $50 a night, or I got a deal and it was $30 a night. Yes. There is a certain aesthetic that the grounds tend to have based on how much you're paying, the price bracket that. Oh yeah. And I would say that the outside is on the lower side. It literally looks like somebody bought an old hotel that was abandoned and fixed up the inside, and the outside just looks like the apartments from the original Karate Kid. That's such a great way to describe like the pool's empty. 100%. Hey, I'm from Reseda. Now I live here, wherever this is. That's exactly what I mean. An old man who's going to teach me how to fight. Yeah, but the inside looks like what it looks like if you go to IKEA and you see the little model they set up of what your apartment could look like. And so they put nice stuff in, but then a bunch of people with shopping carts and kids with bare feet run around and get it all gross. That's kind of what it's like. It looks like somebody really quickly tried to cover up a murder scene by putting in new floor. You know what it's missing? I just realized this. The reason it looks like somebody was faking the IKEA look is because they forgot the accent wall.
There is no accent wall.
It's all white walls.
It is.
Which, if you had one accent wall, all of a sudden it's modern.
You're like, ooh, this is really cool.
This is real Scandinavian.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really weird. Even the lamp, you were describing the lamp. It's like a globe. It looks like a miniature version of that weird thing Joel Osteen has behind him. but then the light bulb is like facing toward your eyes.
Yeah, it's like one of those weird things that looks like it's probably supposed to have an Edison bulb in it, but it doesn't have an Edison bulb in it. It just has a light bulb in it.
Like an very energy efficient.
Speaking of Karate Kid.
Yes.
Have you watched Cobra Kai?
I have not. Have you? Are you into it?
I love it.
I watched the preview and I was like, I don't know if I can do this.
So here's the thing. I was hesitant at first.
Yeah, as you should be.
I was worried. Really, is it the appropriate response?
I watched the preview and I thought this is a joke. Like
I was
made
nervous.
A joke.
I was really nervous as a fan, and then I think it was my father-in-law actually that brought it up, and he was asking if I had watched it, and I was like, like I probably will, but I've been a little nervous. I've done karate my whole life, so that is also.
Have you really?
Oh yeah, fun fact.
I feel so much safer. Are you really? Are you like a black belt?
Second degree black belt.
What? This hotel just got so much safer. Bring it on. We're gonna open the door while we record.
Let them see.
Last night when I pulled up, the guy this is one of those hotels. This is one of those hotels where the people who stay here have probably been here a few weeks. And they hang out outside the room smoking and drinking beer. And when I showed up last night, there's a guy across the street just watching me check in, and I'm like, that guy's totally going to murder me.
Just like some strong eye contact.
Right. He's like, hey, you got birdie face. Anyway, Karate Kid. Sorry, I got distracted by the fact that you're... Wait, this is the music episode. We got to sing a Karate Kid song. You're the best around. No one's ever gonna bring you down.
To be fair, it is a strong soundtrack. If you ever want to go back and check that out.
Yeah. And
it's like nothing but bangers.
And then Karate Kid 2. Was it Chicago? Is that who they had? Or Peter Cetera? They had someone. I'll be the man.
Yes.
Who will fight? Remember that scene, dude, where they're all like, I don't know if he's going to get out of this. And then they're like, we all have tiny drums with beads on them. And they're like, right? And then Peter Cetera's like, we'll live forever. And then he friggin' zip lines in and you're like, yeah! Daniel LaRusso's going to fight! Daniel LaRusso's going to fight! Okay, sorry. Remember, I mentioned the ADD thing.
There's nothing to be sorry about
You're
here.
talking to your father-in-law.
Oh yeah,
about Cobra Kai, which for those of you who don't know it's a series, like a TV series on YouTube. It is a
30 years later follow-up series,
right
down the road. And honestly, since you haven't seen it, there's really not a lot of conversation to have, other than I was really pleasantly
Hold on,
surprised.
we're going to pause and I'm going to watch all how many episodes are there?
There's 10 episodes. They're like 30 minutes a pop. We'll be back in 5 hours.
We'll be back in 5 hours
to finish this. No, I will say this. It's worth a watch. I really enjoyed it. It was way better than I expected. And so thanks, Ralph, for telling me to watch it.
The premise is
original
Ralph
cast.
Macchio is like a car salesman now. Like Daniel LaRusso is turning like a jerk, right? He's like a car salesman, but he's like cocky.
It shows a lot of perspective.
Oh,
I'll give
nice.
that. There's a lot of flashbacks. There's a lot of.
There's things we don't know.
It's it's just seeing other people's sides of the same story, and just shedding some perspective.
Can I bring some perspective to Karate Kid that no one's talking about?
I would love this.
What was he thinking with that Halloween costume? He went in a shower. You remember that? Why were we surprised he got beat up? He was wearing a shower as an outfit.
I don't know. Sounds pretty gangster, right?
Ooh, who's that mysterious man in the shower curtain?
Listen, everybody's trying to be a sexy bumblebee over here and just coming in hard.
Yeah, that's right.
Ain't nobody competing with you. Oh man, that dude wore a shower.
Dude, seriously though, if you saw somebody walking down the street wearing an outfit dressed as a shower, you'd be like, don't mess with that guy. That guy has to know karate.
I am not stopping an individual on the street that is dressed in a shower. Not even just a shower curtain, but a full shower.
So Vance Fite,
Hey.
we this is funny to me, and this is how I know this is going to be a good episode. I fully expect us to cry during this, and I'll tell you why. Usually when you do a podcast, there's like the first half of it is just like talking, and then it gets real deep.
Mm-hmm.
We've been talking all day, and we've been talking about some deep stuff.
We have dove deep.
So
this afternoon.
I fully expect no pressure, but if I'm not having like an epiphany or weeping in the next 10 minutes, I'm going to be disappointed.
Let's go. Let's do this.
We were having a conversation today, just in life,
Yes.
not on the podcast, and we did not do the douchey LA thing of like, let's save it for the podcast. But you did. You
mean when we were busy living life? Also, sidebar, I will say, I know people probably care about like real things and don't care at all about the fact that I'm here talking, but I just want to take people on this journey before we dive into the rest of the stuff. I want to talk about the 3 miles that we drove to dinner from.
Yes. Oh, we never talked about all the things we saw.
No. I don't even know where to begin.
Well,
so,
okay.
Starting at your hotel. So we've already painted the picture of this hotel.
Just before we were even totally out of the parking lot.
No, literally, you can be at the edge of the parking lot to turn onto the, I don't know the name of the road, but whatever the road is
L
at
something in Orlando.
at this hotel. The first thing you see when you turn your head to the right is the biggest damn wizard I have ever seen for a gift shop.
Like,
Not for a magic shop.
No, what they're thinking
Not
is they're
for a
thinking
novelty shop. Not for any specialized location. For a random ass gift shop
What they're
that you can get sunscreen, that you could probably
AA
get
batteries.
some AA batteries,
a chapstick,
some Cheerios,
a waterproof disposable camera,
a fold-up chair.
and they thought, you know what we need to do to get people in this building.
It is a sight to behold.
What people are picturing right now is a building that's a gift shop, and out front
No,
is a statue of a wizard that's
No.
quite large.
no, guys.
The building itself,
The size of the building. Once you get to the roof of the building, from the roof above is a wizard.
a giant wizard, and
it's
his
incredible.
arms come out the side of the building. He's a powerful wizard, but he can't break the curse that his torso is a gift shop. That would be the worst curse ever.
So this is us leaving the parking lot. We
Yes.
now
We turn right.
actually take a right
Yes.
onto the street. We go about 2 blocks down the road.
First of all, every hotel or establishment on this street, coffee shop, everything has a roller coaster. like if it's like a place, you know those little huts that make your keys, they also have a water park. Like everything is a theme park on this street.
But it's also funny too because like you think about, I'm a Disney fan. Always been a Disney fan.
Absolutely.
Just from sheer storytelling and the fact that they take you to a place. Like it's not, oh, we're telling you a story. Like you are in this story. Like if you go to
Yes.
Disney World, whatever piece of the park you go to, you are in that place. There's nothing like you're in that world.
This is it. Yeah.
And it's like the rest of Orlando is like the traveling carnival that sets up in front of like a H Mart in whatever part of town you live in.
Right.
It's like they designed all the buildings for the shops around Orlando.
Yes.
So we keep driving down this road. We make it about 2 blocks and there's a building and like the most lit American flag paint job across. I'm talking like a
Right.
full, like the size of Kroger building, like American flag across the entire building.
And then they put a massive bald eagle painted on the front of the American flag.
Yes.
And what is
Because
it called?
America. What? I'm going to mess it up. What was it actually called?
It's called Machine Gun America.
Oh.
And it's not what you think.
So
It's not what you think. When you see the name Machine Gun America, it looks like, now if you saw that in LA, it would be like propaganda from a street artist that's trying to make a political statement.
we're not in LA.
What is it in Florida when you see a building that says Machine Gun America?
You can arm up.
It's a place, it's a theme park where the only ride is firing a semi-automatic rifle.
God bless America.
You pay like $30 and you can go in there and shoot machine guns.
So then we're passing the Machine Gun America.
Yes, we are.
Quite literally to laugh at what's happening. Not one, not two. An entire food truck park.
Well, first we see the food truck park and we're like, yeah, this is great. Because food truck parks, it's like all the greatest food and so many different options.
Mm-hmm.
And then we park and we go over there. And there's probably, what, like 30 food trucks?
Yes.
And talk about the options.
Every single option is a Mexican food truck, which is totally legit for me. But it was funny because it was like traditional Mexican food. Then it would be like Mexican burgers.
Right.
And then Mexican pho.
It was like all these fusion places, but all of them were fused with Mexican. So it was like...
It was so good.
It was great.
And it was a bountiful harvest of food.
What did we get? We thought we were ordering burritos.
It wasn't. Man, it was like
a sandwich.
It was a weird hybrid.
asada,
It was such a weird hybrid of things.
cheese, ham and cheese.
It was like a hoagie bun
Yes.
with the
But, but like
insides of a burrito.
Very thin. So it looked like, in the picture, it looked like a tortilla. It was a very thin bun.
Super thin bun filled with like the insides of a burrito.
Yeah.
I got chicken personally.
Right.
But
And even the chicken came with ham.
Oh yeah, I did actually. But then on top of that, they had a layer of French fries in it.
It was insane. This was within like 5 minutes. We had already seen The Wizard, the Sketchy Hotel, Machine Gun America, and an all Mexican fusion food truck court within 5 minutes of gathering ourselves together.
The moral of the story, guys, is
come to Orlando.
Come to Orlando. But also, I think there's a strong power in just kind of living life and being willing to experience a new place.
Yes.
Because we could have totally... Because we didn't know we were going to dinner. Like
no, we didn't.
And we could have totally just Googled and found something that was a safe option. But we decided to be like, oh, we'll just cruise for a minute. And if we don't find something, then we'll look something up.
Right.
And by God, we got to see so
we had
many
an experience.
Remarkable.
Well, even then, we went after that. We went and grabbed a drink and hung out a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then we were walking. We're like, let's go take a walk.
Yeah.
And then there was it said walking path.
Yep.
And we're walking, and there's like on one side, there's like a swampy lake with like lily pads and brush. And on the right, there's a freaking forest.
Yep.
And literally, we had just said, this looks like a place where there'd be a lot of gators. Because Florida, here's another thing about Florida. Is it Floridians? Is that what they call themselves?
It is.
Floridians? Unless you're a fan of the artist, and then it's Flo Rida. Stupid! So, literally, we said, oh, this looks like there might be alligators. And then we saw a sign that said,
it is against the law to mess with the alligators. There's actually a law for that here.
They had to make a law and a sign.
Florida, what you guys doing? What has to happen that you have to make legislation that states that you can't mess with an alligator? What
I love is that somebody who's like so hardcore that they'll mess with a live alligator is intimidated by a sign. Listen, I'm gonna go poke this alligator with a stick, okay? Oh wait, nope, it's against the law.
Also on that same journey,
yes.
Let's not forget the modern hipster-ass bicycle.
The weirdest.
It was, man, I don't even know what you call those things. It was the OG bicycle that had one like 4-foot round wheel and then like the little tiny 6-inch
little wheel in the back.
But
you need a friend to help you get on it.
But it was a brand new one. Like this was not vintage. Like somebody was like, you know what we've been missing, guys?
Guys.
Screw a bicycle.
These things are too efficient.
I'm trying to see the world from a new elevation.
I want all the height with no stability.
I feel like there's a lot of women whose dating choices probably lean that way.
Oh, buddy.
I kid. Jokes.
So here's what I think is interesting. When we first met, you were doing a lot of like back end production for this event, and then I find out afterward that you're a musician.
Yep.
And you're a photographer.
Man, I don't even claim that.
You're here right now getting paid as a photographer. Like somebody paid you to get on an airplane and come take pictures. You're a photographer. But what I just love is that like you do so many different things. And we were talking earlier about this whole idea of like, don't know what I really want to do, or like, don't know how to like, you know?
Yeah, I do a lot of things.
But they're all creative. They're all in the zone of production and creativity and making things. You have a wonderful podcast, which I do want to plug.
Oh, cheers.
It's called The Music Stuff Show, right? Did I say that right?
We do for now. We're
do for now? Is it over?
Man,
are you quitting?
We're not. So I guess we can. Do you want to go here now or you want to go here later?
Well, now I want to go here.
Okay, we can go here. So yes, I am a co-host on a, sorry if we weren't supposed to talk about this, Tom, but YOLO. So basically, we have a show, Music Stuff Show.
Yes.
The tag is breaking down the business of music to help you build a career doing what you love.
Yes.
So really, I've been in and around music for like 10, 15 years. Tom has been around playing in bands and music. He's currently the drummer for Tonic, and he's been doing just as long, if not longer than me.
If you could only see the way. Sorry, we promised ourselves we would.
So we have a show that really the whole premise is to give people the advice that we wish somebody had told us when we were starting out in bands and stuff like that. So,
right.
Which is awesome. We love it. It is a joyous part of our life. We are currently, we haven't announced this, so I guess now we're announcing it, wrapping up season 1. And then we're just going to we're going to make some changes, kind of evolve the show.
Okay.
So it's probably going to take a new name. There's no official new name. But like just changing some things that to make it better and continue the evolution of the idea. And we're also probably going to expand it where it has been directed at musicians, but we also have people that follow that are not musicians, because a lot of the principles, like if you take out the word musician or producer or whatever, apply to a lot of creatives and just creative business in general. And so we had people that are like, tailors and hairdressers and, people like that follow our show that were like, hey, like we're not musicians, but we really like your show. So I think we're going to kind of try and embrace that and let people know that they can be a part of it and make it more just like creative,
open it up more
business.
See, that's great, man, because what I was going to say and why I was going to encourage people to listen is, even though, I mean, I've done music my whole life, I don't do that for a living, but there's so much I take away from my comedy and magic career by listening to you guys talk about. Even today, I was listening to an episode, and you guys were talking about like the importance of self-auditing yourself. Or, I mean, you did another recent episode was about fear and like, stuff that anyone in any field is going to deal with. So that's cool, man, that you're rebranding it. But go check it out, guys, because
we think it's cool. But
it's really cool.
You can definitely hit us up. I don't say that to not go listen. I don't know how quickly this will air. I just wanted you guys to know that if you see us
jump on and get all excited,
you can follow us, and the show will still exist, but it is going to evolve over the next couple months, and hopefully for the best. And everybody.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I got a little nervous, man, because I have on more than one occasion done this with podcasts, TV shows, any sort of series where I get way into it and then it stops early, and I'm like, why do you do that?
No, we love it. We absolutely love it. It brings a lot of joy. And yeah, I don't intend on stopping the foundation of it. It's just going to change the mold a little bit.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So that part's cool.
One of the things we were talking about is not knowing what we want to be when we grow up, like being grown-ups. And at the same time, you're younger than I am. You're a young buck. I look way older than I am. Do you have any idea how old I am? I'm going to totally put you on the spot.
29.
Yeah, you're a nice fella. You are 29.
I am 29.
You're 29. I am 37.
Oh.
But I look like
I wouldn't have guessed that.
52.
No. Honestly,
what?
No, I would have guessed like 33, 35.
Oh, come on.
I only thought you were a couple years older than me.
Oh, guys, welcome to Affirmations for Taylor. Thanks, buddy.
This is the problem with doing a lot of things is that well, let's take a step back. What I love about your show, because I also follow your show legitimately outside of just being friends. I love that the goal is to be intentional and not just like flex on people, like, and which that's cool. Like, and you got to do it as part of the hustle. And like, I do that plenty, and I'm not going to act like I don't. But we spend so much time like choosing what we show people, and so for me, it's like always in seasons where it's like, oh, right now the show is kind of like the forefront of what's working on. So like that's kind of what I tell people about. Or, you know, like if I am on tour, then it's like, oh, that's what's going on for these couple months, and that's what I tell people about. Like it's not to like lie to people, but like I literally do like 30 things all the time, and it's confusing to people, and then like I try and explain it and they're like, what the hell is what? Like I literally I try to. Like I try to explain it to people.
Yeah.
And they're like, huh. And then I'll like try and break it down a little bit more, and like at least if it's other creative people I'm talking to, like they know what it is. But as soon as you get out of any creative realm,
well, you kind of have one of two things. They either think you're crazy, or they think, dude, he's just killing it. He's like, man, he like picked up the camera and like, you know, he's just flying around taking photos, and he's in bands and he's touring with this person. He's doing all that. Guys, it always looks better than it really is. It always looks more glamorous than it really is.
That's true. And honestly, that's what I was going to say, is that's why I'm not, we can go wherever you want to go, but I'm not sure to, because I appreciate about your show that the goal is to be transparent in that.
Yeah.
And like, we can talk about the great things, and I'm happy to flex on those. Like, here's a great thing, like, not a great thing, but a relevant thing. When I was 19, 20, something like that, almost a decade ago, it was like it wasn't the first band I'd been in, but it was the first time I was touring a lot.
Yeah.
Which would have been 19 or 20, something in there. And it was like the first time I'd gone home, and I was catching up with an old friend from high school that I hadn't seen, and we were just like grabbing dinner, talking.
Yeah.
And we sat there, and he was like, man, I am really jealous that you get to do what you do. And it was the most baffling thing to me. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, I just do it.
Right.
Like, I mean, I'm poor as shit. Like, especially then. Like, that was, dude, no lie, when man, at that time, I had 3 jobs officially at one time. I probably picked up freelancing stuff on the side. And it was the point where I had one job that had set hours, and it was like 3 days a week. Then I had a second job down the street on the same road that would schedule around those set hours. Then I had a third job that my roommate was the manager at this place, and she would just fill me in on anything else that I hadn't already been booked for. Still had no money because like all of these places are like minimum wage and like not really making anything. And so then we would do this whole thing where like I would work my soul away whenever we were home, and then we would go and be gone for like 4 or 5 days and do 4 shows.
Yep.
And it would take all of the money to put gas in the van and like eat 79-cent burritos at Taco Bell.
Oh yeah.
And then I would go back, have no money. Like I literally remember times that it would be like I'd be hanging at a buddy's house, and like my gas tank would be below E.
Yeah.
And I would be terrified that I wouldn't make it home, and I would have to wait to leave his place till 2 a.m. because that's when one of the checks would deposit, because it was on California time.
Dude, so you could put gas in the car.
So I would wait till 2 to drive back to my house so that I could stop at the gas station.
Brother.
But it was like during this season, and then I would catch up. I mean, it was only like, I haven't talked to him in years, but we caught up this one time. He's like, man, I'm so jealous. And I'm like, I'm just doing it because I love playing music. Like it ain't for the money. It ain't for like, and that's kind of always just been my thing. Like there's always a handful of things that I'm doing that I'm less stoked about because they pay a little bit more.
Yeah.
And then I'm doing that to fund the things that I want to be doing.
Well, I think it's cool too that, I mean, you bring it up because what people don't understand, like you said, you're just doing it. Like a lot of people are waiting around like, man, if I had the opportunity, I'd go and do that. It's like, yeah, if you want to do something, you can do it.
Yeah.
You got to be willing to pay the price. Like everything's going to cost you. But for some of us, it's like Christian, he's a drummer he's on tour with Maren Morris right now. He's a drummer.
Oh, cool.
But dude, he's the guy who, we talked about the fact that like, he's like, he calls it a curse. He's like, it's a glorious curse. Because he's like, if someone came up to me and was like, hey, you want to make $100,000 and sit behind this desk all day? Or do you want to make $20,000 and tour playing drums? He like, yeah, I won't play the drums. Like,
dude, all day.
All day long, right?
Every single time.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah, but it is that weird thing of like I think people that have normal jobs daydream of being musicians, and then like entertainers daydream of like, man, it's probably pretty sweet to be a dentist. Like, it's pretty rad to probably have that guaranteed paycheck.
Man, I think and you probably can relate to this too. I have enough of a foot in a couple corporate gigs that are the bill paying gigs.
Yeah.
That are still creative on what I do. Like that, are better than sitting at a desk for me personally in the way that I'm wired. But at the end of the day, like every time I'm there, even though they have a much better budget than some of the other things I do, I'm still like, well, let's get this done so that I can go back to doing fun stuff.
Well, and I have so many friends and family members who work really good corporate gigs, like normal jobs, typical jobs, I should say. And their argument oftentimes for not pursuing the thing they love is there's no security in it. But then every day they come home and talk about how nervous they are that they're going to say the wrong thing in front of the boss or do the wrong thing or mess up this project and lose their gig. Like, there's no security in anything. You might as well do something you love if you can handle the emotional trauma of the roller coaster.
Well, here's the thing. Even if you are doing that thing to pay the bills, what are you doing with your other time?
Yeah.
Like, for real. Like, and I am I think I'm still considered a newlywed. It's less than a year.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you. My wife is dope as shit. I love her dearly. She makes me a better person. Shout out to you, boo. I know where I was going with this.
Yeah.
People like Gary Vee.
Yeah.
I love it. I also think that can be to one extreme, and I think it depends on what your goals are. I'm like huge on what your actual goals are, and if your goals are strictly monetary success, like certain level things, then like listen to him and do that. I think if you want any form of work-life balance and like family, and for me, where like I always want to do these things and push these things, like I still keep time that I get to spend with my wife sacred to where like I will burn at both ends for a long time and do stuff, but there's limits to that now that which is not a curse to me. Like for me, like that gives me life and is rejuvenating, and I love that time, and that's worth it to me.
Yeah.
I say all of that to be said, there are still 24 hours in a day, so it's like if you work 8 hours a day, even if you spend time with your family, your boo, your whoever, like there is still time. And what are you doing with that extra time?
Yeah.
Like whether that's 1 hour.
Yep.
For most people that act like it's only an hour, that's a lie. You probably got 5 hours. Just cancel your Netflix subscription.
Oh yeah.
But like, what do you really want? So if you want to be doing something, you can still make the money. If you don't want to take that plunge and then go home and work on whatever it is that you want to work on. And like, I think people are like, oh, it'll never get there, so it's not worth starting.
Dude, well, bro, even you mentioned an hour a day. If you want to learn how to play the piano or the guitar, an hour a day in 2 years, you'll be a pretty decent player.
I'm literally doing it right now. So I've played music for like 15 years. Or maybe more than that. I don't know. I picked up a guitar when I was like 12 or 13, something like that. I have played in bands almost ever since then. And like I could fake piano, like real musicians like will know that I'm faking it, but like if I go to just like a random person that does not play music, I could have faked it and like because I know major chords and whatever. And literally for years I've always been like, man, I want to know how to play piano. Like for real, because I just think it's cool, not even as a skill to use in business,
just
like
for you. And it's
me.
okay to do things that are just for you. And
so literally like towards the end of the year, last year, I was like, you know what? I've talked about this for years. I am going to do this now. And I literally put out a message on Facebook looking for a piano teacher. I got a piano teacher. Ironically enough, he's an amazing dude. Shout out Matt. He's a bitch and producer in Nashville. If anybody's
looking. What's up, Matt?
But it is funny because he was at my wedding and I never knew him because he was on my wife's side and we never actually got to meet at the wedding. But now we're super homies and I love him to death.
That's awesome,
but
man.
It is super dope. And I say that as someone that like has literally played music, toured playing music. People bring me out to play music, and I'm still like, cool, this is a new skill that I want to learn that I've never actually had. So I am going to take lessons so that I can just do something for me, and I just do it.
Dude, that's huge, man, because if you're listening right now and you've got a normal 9-to-5 corporate job, it can feel like you don't have any time. But the truth is, even right now, all I do for money, I don't do a single thing for money other than perform live shows, right? But a couple things with that. even though that is enough work for me to pay my bills, it's just enough, but to pay my bills, and that's what I do full time, I still spend a lot of time working to book those shows.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the side, after hours, I do a lot of the shows that I want to do and things that don't make me any money.
Yeah.
And there's still time, and I spend time with my family, and my kids and my wife are not neglected. And I think how many people spend their whole time going, well, someday when I retire. And then they're too old. They don't have the time or the energy to do anything because they wasted it all making someone else rich.
It's such a gross mentality.
Isn't it gross?
Honestly, it makes me sad.
I shouldn't say, I don't want to say it's gross what you do. I'm just saying, like, make room for what you love.
It's not gross what you do. And honestly, I think most people are victims, like, to something that is a lie that they've been sold. Where, like, we can get into all the cliches if you want to, but, like, I think there's been this weird gap of people just, like, taking safe options, whether that's what their parents wanted them to do, whether that's the people they grew up around wanted them to do. And, like, the point of a job is to provide value.
Right.
And you provide value in something that you're great at.
Yes.
And we are in an era where, like, you don't have to, like, people get choices. Like, we are no longer in a time where it's like, oh, you have to do this safe thing in order to provide value that someone will pay money for.
Right.
Like, we live in a global economy. Like, you can work with people all across the planet. Like, we got the internet.
Yeah.
Shit's crazy. Like,
we're in the future. You remember all those shows when you were a kid where they had the future? This is it.
But that's the thing. Like, there is something that you're awesome at, like, or have the propensity to be amazing at, like, whoever you are. And, like, I don't think it's bad to be a doctor. I think it's great to be a doctor, if your heart's in it. But, like, there's a big difference between the person that lost their mom to cancer versus somebody that's like, oh, this is a pretty decent paycheck. Like, the guy that's just there for the paycheck is never going to cure cancer. And the person that unfortunately lost their parent, like, you know, it sucks that that's the way that it took to get there, but they're never going to stop until either they die or they solve the problem. And I think that's what every industry needs. Like, I don't care if you're a doctor, a lawyer. I don't care if you want to be a chef. I don't care if you want to be a musician, magician. Like, there are so many options in the time and age that we live now. And even if you're scared, there's so much flexibility with the internet. They're fine. Just dip your toe in. Give it an hour a day. Take 1 hour a day to get closer to something that you actually care about.
Now, here's the deal. Some people are listening and they're going to go, well, that's a privileged conversation. You're able to do the things you love. What we're not saying is let your family starve because you want to go discover yourself and be an actor and do the work you need to do to pay the bills.
100%.
Like, be a hard worker. But there is, I mentioned this earlier, like, I think the idea of the American dream is such an illusion because the idea is the dream is to make something of yourself, but really it's get a job that's steady, even if you hate it, so you can have the stuff you want. And you don't always in that type of exchange get to live the life that you need to live or experience the things that you love or are passionate about or to make something you're proud of if you're just punching a card because it pays the bills.
Yeah, I think people think about it from the wrong end where, like, I get that. Like, pay your bills, provide for your family. Like, I would never encourage somebody to, like, just do something stupid on a whim for their own emotions. However, people do it blindly. Like, I bet you could ask 100 people, like, how much is enough? And 98 of them are not going to have the answer. In the sense of, like, cool, you got a wife, you got a husband, you got kids. Cool. What's that number every month? Like, that's not I mean, everybody's number is different. Like, you know, with your mortgage, with your bills, with your whatever to pay for your food. Like, have you actually made a budget? Do you know what that number is? And what is the least amount of time you can work doing something you hate to hit that number? So that the rest of your time and energy can go to the thing that you actually care about. No one actually takes the time to think about that. Whereas, like, because that's kind of my mantra. Like, sure, I like the idea of making more money, but at the end of the day, like, I don't do it for the money. And so like, that's always been my thing. And thankfully I have a super supportive wife that puts up with my antics. But for me, it's always like, cool, like, what's that baseline number I can get to that I can invest my energy into shit I actually care about?
That's huge, man. Because if you look at it just from a dollar's perspective, there's like the money in the bank, but then there's the soul points. There's like the stuff that keeps you going, you know? And you have to invest in yourself from a creative level. And I don't buy this thing that some people are creative and some people aren't. I feel like
Less.
all of us are gifted in areas that some people they lie dormant. They haven't discovered. And I think the sooner you invest into something that whether it's going to be something, not saying it's going to be your full-time gig, but like, dude, if you've always wanted to play guitar and every year you've made a New Year's resolution that you're going to learn how to play guitar, or if it's juggling, or if it's learning how to cook or bake, and you every year bring that up, there's something deeper that's calling you toward that.
Dude.
And not saying you need to abandon your job and your family and go, become a chef, but why not say, okay, one meal a week, I'm going to cook it, and I'm going to cook something I've never made before, and I'm going to learn how to do this.
For sure. And I think people need to change the mindset. Like, sure, I think it's easy that the typical things that fall under creativity are like artsy stuff.
Right.
And like, yeah, that is. But also, I think creativity is a mindset.
Yeah.
Like, if you look at the kind of research that is currently going on in like health and physiology and stuff that like people are learning about the body right now because of where technology and research is at, is incredible.
Yeah.
And it's not like you can literally take the field of medicine and the body and anatomy and biology.
Right.
And think creatively, and you have people that are completely disrupting an industry right now with the fact that they just chose to think creatively about passion projects.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't have to just be like pick up a guitar. Like, by all means, I support that. Like, I get it, and I'm about it. Like, but at the end of the day, like, it's whatever your thing is. Like, there's something that you think about when you get up in the morning.
Yep.
And you should try it.
Dude, this is so good, man. Because we spend a lot of time on the show. I mean, it's about to break, and it's, as entertainers, it's like this whole idea of you seem to be this close to a breakthrough or this close to like a mental breakdown.
It is a fine line.
But the truth is it's not something that's exclusive to entertainers or to people in the artistic realm. Everybody, I feel like everybody is walking this tightrope of trying to please other people, trying to make enough money, trying to impress the neighbors. And it's like you have to give yourself the freedom to try something and fail. Like, you have to give yourself permission to be like, you know what, I'm going to go for it. And it might be miserable and I might end up not liking it, but it's better to do that than to live with the regret that you never tried to do something that you felt like you should.
But what's actually bad? Like, seriously, like,
do it
on all these things, like, and I'll go back to the creative thing, but I think this applies to everything.
Yeah.
Whatever your thing is, like we'll go back to the guitar thing. If you want to learn how to play guitar and you are currently a doctor, what do you lose?
See,
like, if it's something that you are excited about, and it's worth spending $50 a week to pay somebody to teach you how to play guitar, that if that literally is an hour of your week with that person in your free time when you get home at night, because you're into it. Like, you don't have to do something to be in some famous band. Like, you can learn it just because you're like, you know what? It would be cool to learn this.
Oh, yeah. And how many times have you been on the road touring with the band, doing the thing people think is great, and then you pull off to the side for a moment and sit with your guitar by yourself, and all of a sudden you're like, yeah, buddy, like, this moment alone where no one's here and no one's listening is going to give me the energy I need to get back there and do the thing that is so close to what I really want to do, but isn't.
I'll tell you too, people severely underestimate themselves.
Yeah.
If you had any idea how many gigs I have, that when I said I could do it, I did not have the skill to do whatever was being asked of me. But somebody was like, hey, do you know how to do this?
Oh, yeah.
I could do that.
You know, dude, this goes into giving yourself a deadline. Like, when I was 17, and doing magic shows and the place in a Magic Castle in LA, I was part of this like little junior program they have. One of the mentors was Diana Zimmerman, and Diana told us, if somebody asks if you can do something, say yes, and then figure out how to do it. Bro, I love that I was young enough to not know how crazy that sounds.
Yeah.
Because giving yourself a deadline and agreeing to do things that are ridiculous leads you to discover that you full on can pull off stuff.
Yeah. And full disclosure, I mean, like, if it's going to hurt somebody else, don't lie.
Yeah, please.
Like,
I can,
if there's like 5 or more zeros involved and you're not sure, don't laugh. But I think most things, like, I also don't feel like I've ever lied. Everything that has come down my like pipeline or whatever, and somebody's been like, hey, can you do this?
Right.
And I like sit with it for a second. Like, I've never said yes to something I didn't think I could figure out how to do by the time.
But it might scare you.
It can be daunting,
and you're like,
and it usually comes with sleepless nights.
I know I could do this, but it scares me to say yes.
Yeah,
say yes
for sure.
Yeah.
No, I've done that so many times.
So I do a monthly show now for this podcast, a live show in LA, and we're calling it the Low Bar Variety Hour. And the whole idea with the show is I invite friends who are all working professionals, performers, stand-up comedians, improvisers, magicians, and I invite them and I say, the rule is you can't do anything you've done before. You have to do a brand new piece. So if you're a songwriter, you got to write a brand new song. If you're a comedian, you got to do new jokes. If you're
that's awesome.
A magician, you got to come up with a new trick. And dude, we've only done 2 of them.
That's awesome.
But here's what's great. Both times that we've done it, everyone has been like so excited at the idea, and then they get terrified because they have a deadline.
That's so
because
good.
It's like Tuesday on the 22nd, I have to do something new. And then afterward, we do a little hang afterward. We go to House of Pies. We eat food way too late at night, and we talk about it. And both times, everyone's been like, I'm so glad we did that. Like,
that's so cool.
Because it forces you to be creative. Like, creativity with a deadline is huge.
Yes.
So
that's so cool. I love that.
So if there's something that you've been wanting to do and you're listening to this, give yourself a deadline. Like, commit to it and tell someone else about the deadline and force yourself to do it. And I think be willing to say, no matter what condition it's in at that point, I'm going to do it. Right?
The amount of times I've had this conversation with people that want to be artists. There is a girl in Nashville that I had this conversation with where she came to Nashville, wanted to be a singer-songwriter, was trying to get her shit together, whatever. And she was like, yeah, I really want to do a open mic night. Cool. When are
you going to do it?
When are you going to do it?
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, do you know what nights of the week's there? I mean, yeah, they're on like Mondays and Wednesdays. Perfect. So I'm going to take my calendar out. And 6 weeks from now, the Monday is the 14th of whatever month it was or something like that. I was like, cool. So you have 6 weeks. It's on my calendar.
Yeah.
And I cannot wait to see how you do at this open mic.
It's so good, man.
But like, yeah, man, you just got to do stuff. Also, too, like, so I think this falls into 2 kinds of people. Yeah. I think there are people that are actively pursuing whatever this thing is.
Yeah.
And like, y'all need to nut up and just face your fears. Like, suck it up. Like, and we've talked about this on our show before and stuff like that, where there is no amount of training, there's no amount of practice that you can do to prepare to be on stage.
Nothing.
Like,
nothing at all.
You could literally practice for thousands and thousands and thousands of hours, and you might technically be incredible.
Yeah.
But there is nothing like getting in front of people and physically performing what you said you wanted to do.
Right.
And the only way you do that is by getting reps in on a stage.
Yep.
And so if you are like actively trying to be the performer, whoever person, like, pick a date and go. Like, it ain't gonna get easier. Rip the Band-Aid off. And like, I don't care if you like go to a city away from you, like, do what you got to do. Like, and to be fair, like, I think that's okay. Like, I think people put a lot of pressure on people that know them, and like, some people be like, oh, suck it up and get in front of them. Like, I get it. I understand the tension behind that.
Right.
But if that's the case, like, look at a map an hour away that none of your friends live, and find the closest city that also has a venue that does what you do, and go do it for people that are never going to see you again if you don't have to, so that you can just rip the Band-Aid off.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
On the flip side of that, the people that like, oh, maybe you just have something in your soul that you feel like you should be doing, but you've never done it. I think for those people, make such attainable goals that it's so stupid easy, so that you start feeling the wins.
Yep.
Where it's like, you might have this one huge goal. We'll go back to guitar just because that's kind of been our theme today.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to play guitar. And so maybe there's like this hard song that you want to play. That shouldn't be your starting goal. That can be like a longer goal.
Yeah.
But like, if you've never picked up a guitar and you I hate that I'm even going to say this, but you want to play Freebird, like that shouldn't be your day one goal. That can be like your long-term goal, whatever. So then you like, how do you break that down? Cool. I want to play a slightly easier song. So then you pick a song and then maybe that's still a little hard.
Yeah.
So then you're like, cool. I want to learn to play these 4 chords.
Yeah.
Start there. And then like your fingers are going to hurt, but you can tangibly spend a week practicing only 4 chords. Right. And guess what? If you know 4 chords, you can play a song. Actually, you can play a lot of songs.
Oh yeah. So many people, we forget this. Pick your favorite artist or movie star or athlete and realize that every single one of them was awful when they first started.
So bad.
Every single one of them. I think singing is probably the only thing. And even then, like, you got to learn stuff. But I feel like singing is like the only area that there are some people who day one are just like, they can carry a tune and they sound great and they've got a certain pitch to their voice. But even then.
But all those people end up destroying their voice because they don't know how to sing.
Right.
And they just like rip it apart.
Yeah. Yeah, man. But I think like we so we're comparing ourselves day one to where someone is 20 years down the road.
Man,
you know what I mean?
Dude, okay, so here's the thing. So many people are scared to do this because they'll look at other people, watch them do it, and then not do it themselves. If you freaking get up and do something every single day and you look back a year from now, you will be maybe not perfect, but way better than when you started.
Oh, yeah.
And like, I feel like there's, everybody's got that thing from when they were a kid that like,
yeah.
Like for me, you had no idea I did karate growing up or whatever.
Right.
You know, but like
I expect you to do like is it called exhibition? Is that what is it called? What do they call it? When you do like a demo, but you don't really hurt someone?
Sure. We'll call it that. But no, like I feel like everybody has one of those weird things from a kid. Like whether you did ballet, maybe you like played whatever sport.
Right.
Maybe like something that, you know, maybe not pro athlete or anything like that, but you had some weird skill as a kid that was good enough to be pretty decent till you were a teenager and then it wasn't cool and then you moved on with your life.
Right.
And not that that needs to be your thing, but I think people forget that it's like, you weren't good at that.
Right.
You either wanted to and you just did it every day because you couldn't drive and you couldn't do anything. And so you just wasted time.
Yeah.
Or your mom was like, stop playing video games and you got to spend some time doing something that doesn't involve a TV.
Yep.
And then you're like, YOLO. So I guess I'm going to go do this.
I'm going to do this.
And you know, you did that for like 6 or 8 years growing up and you were actually pretty decent at it. And people forget that like, you're not dead. You can keep learning, people.
Oh, dude, that's so good, man. Well, and on the flip side, like there are always things that you think, I've always wanted to try that. And sometimes you try them and you instantly know. I'm not talking about like how nobody can play the piano off the bat or guitar, but I'm saying there are some things that you try and intrinsically, once you try it, you go, this is not my thing. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Isn't it better to try it and then to know than to your whole life be like, I've always wanted to try to play the cello? Like, I
think that's the problem with making too crazy of a goal. Because if you're like, oh, if I'm going to do this, I have to become famous or get 1 million followers or whatever. Yeah. Like Tim Ferriss is great about this. Where like his podcast, when he started, he was like, I'm a little interested, but I don't know. So I'm going to do 6 episodes.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like his podcast, in case you don't follow him, has like 600 million monthly listeners. 600 million.
That's insane.
But, you know,
that is insane.
But let's take this back. It started from, I'm going to do 6 episodes.
Right.
If I love it, I will keep doing it and see where it goes from there. Maybe I'll do another 6.
Oh, yeah.
If I hate this, I'm done after 6. And I think it's okay to, like, that's the power of small goals where it's like, oh, I either learned a little bit and I realized I do or don't like that. The other thing people don't think about is, it's like what's the quote where like it's way easier to move a ship that's in motion than one that's in the harbor.
Right.
Like same thing for us in the show. Like aside from maybe changing the name and broadening it, we have some other ideas of things that we might switch with it.
Yeah.
We never would have known if we had not spent the last 6 months doing the Season of the Music Stuff show.
Right.
Like if we had just waited and thought about and whatever, like you can be adaptable when you just do stuff and do it in segments and treat stuff like a season.
That's so good, man. And to realize that just because you tried one variation of it, or not with that, but I'm saying like just because you tried one angle of something, do you know how many different types of shows, live performance shows I've attempted that didn't work? Or how many different product ideas that I had that didn't work? Some people do if they've known me for a while. The truth is you only see the successes, but like, I mean, how many actors that you're like, oh, that must be pretty cool to be on a network sitcom. Do you know how many commercials they did that were like no name industrial commercials? Do you know how many auditions, thousands of auditions they went on before they booked a single paying gig?
Bro, if I could count the failures I had in 2017 alone. And I still managed to make half those things look cool on Instagram.
Yes, buddy. Yes.
Like, I should be careful here. It's probably dangerous territory.
No, dude. I mean, like, I see guys all the time. I'll talk for magicians. We can talk about magicians. I've seen magicians all the time who will talk about, dude, it's so cool. So-and-so's doing this or doing that. And then it's like in your head, you know that guy and you know the deal he got and you know what's really going on. Well, you got to stop looking at other people and going, man, that's great. I wish I could. And start going like, well, what can I do? I could, you know what? The bar by my house, I know the owner. And he's always asking when we're going to do something. Maybe I could get my band to play there and I'll do it for free and I'll let people come. And now you're doing something. You're doing something. You don't have to, you know.
Also, what the hell do you want to do?
Dude.
Like, and again, like, it's a tricky thing because, like, yeah, there's people that you're inspired by that you're like, oh, I love this. This is like a long-term vision for me. And that's cool. That's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
However, like a lot of people on the come up, like in the indie scenes of whatever creative endeavor, whether it's music, acting, I'm sure magic's the same way. Like there's one person that seems like they're starting to front run out of that group. And all of a sudden everybody else is like, we got to do that because it's working for them. Where at the end of the day, like just do you.
Dude.
Like
it's so good, man.
Because people don't, like, you don't need 30 U2s. You don't need 30 different Blink-182s.
Right.
You don't need 30 Taylor Swifts.
You don't need Imagine Dragons because you have Coldplay. Sorry. We'll take that out. We can take that out.
The hybrid of Coldplay and the Killers. If they made a baby.
Oh, I love the Killers.
Me too. They're one of my favorite bands in the world.
And we're now going to hold hands and sing Killer songs.
Somebody tell me. But no, I think that's a thing where it's like, what do you actually want? Not what does what seem, man. If
what do you stop looking at what someone else is doing and going, well, that's what it's like to be a success in that.
I am not going to name names.
Name the names.
No, I'm not that guy.
Okay, you say the story and I'll name the names.
This person's not famous, so they won't.
Oh,
so it's okay. It's more of a personal relationship, not naming names kind of thing.
Okay, I get you. I get you. Man, Thomas, call him Thomas.
We'll call him Thomas. Man, like,
if that's
I know
really
dudes.
His name, I'm taking credit for that magic trick.
It's not, but we can say it is if it gets you more followers. So my buddy Thomas, who remarkably talented rapper.
Okay.
Like, not just saying that, like, not because we're friends, not because I've known him. Like, homeboy is legit, like, should be famous.
Okay.
Has the capacity, like, has the look, has the ability, has all of this stuff.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, over the years, is like, never hits publish, which is a huge issue because nobody can know that they should be into you if they.
He doesn't ever put his stuff out there.
That's a whole nother thing.
Okay, gotcha.
For a long time, it's been an issue.
Yeah,
not even having an issue of not having it, having catalogs of music, but never actually putting it out because of whatever excuse that whatever. But man, recently put something out, and it's fine, but it's not him. And like, there are people that are like into it and it's cool and that's fine. But I also have known him long enough to know, like, you did what you thought was in, whether you admit it to anybody else or not, like you didn't do you. And I know what you is capable of.
Yeah.
And like, you might have a few people that are like, this is cool.
Right.
But if you had done you, lots of people could have been like, wow.
Dude. As much as it's fun to talk about this kind of stuff, if I'm honest, it was like a year and a half ago that I finally realized I'm not doing me. Like, I'm not being myself when I perform. I'm doing what works, and I'm not. I feel like everybody has something unique, and the best thing you can do is put a magnifying glass on the part of you that is different. And it took my wife, who we've been married 15 years, it took my wife to call me on it and go, you know, this one thing that you rarely do is the thing that you're probably better at than anyone. Why don't you do that? And bro, it has changed everything. It's changed audience response. It's changed opportunities. And more importantly than any of that, it's changed like the joy factor, because when you're doing the thing you're supposed to do, it just fits. It feels right. And I think the sooner, I wish you asked me earlier, do you ever wish like you go back 5 years and do something then knowing what you know now? Like for me, I wish I would just go, oh, so like all that stuff about like, just be yourself and like, don't worry about other people and set aside all the nonsense and just do your thing.
To be fair, I'll be transparent. I'm not above this. I don't want to say this as a person that like doesn't struggle with the same thing. I probably roller coaster through this once a year. If not more. That literally is a constant thing that is checks and balances of start to be like, oh, this is really me. This is really what I feel like I should be doing. And it's never intentional, but then you get distracted, or then somebody pays you money to do this other thing, or, you know, something seems like a safer option. And then intrinsically, you just kind of end up doing that. And then 6 months later, you're like, what have I been doing for the last 6 months? So like, to be fair, I'm equally this person. I don't want to just put somebody else on blast and act like it doesn't occur to me either.
It's something that I don't think it's something that you get to a point where you don't deal with it anymore. I think it's always a struggle. And I think that the people that are winning, not in a success like the world's eyes thing, but like winning for themselves and their family, are the people who lean more toward, you know, doing the thing that they're really supposed to be doing, like being themselves and worrying less about what other people think.
100%.
Oh, dude, this is good stuff, man.
I love this. Where are we going next?
We're going to that wizard gift shop, bro.
I think something that's super powerful, something real Tom, actual Tom, co-host of the Music Stuff Show, Tom.
Yes.
Had a convicting is not even the right word for it. A conversation that I needed to hear, because for me personally, recently I go through waves in music because it's like I do stuff I love, then I do music, and then people make it hard to love what I'm doing in the moment because of circumstances that go on behind the scenes, and then I have to take a little break so that I don't hate music. And so I was at this place where me and Tom have lots of conversations because we're homies, and I was talking about how I've had a bit of a hiatus. I didn't play as much music in 2017. I was, you know, getting married and doing a lot of creative projects, and kind of just took a mini hiatus on it. And I was like, man, I miss playing, but like not super sure, you know, what I want to do. And it just like feels like work every time I sit down. And it was really convicting because he was like, man, you need to use the music to fill you, not the other way around.
Dude.
In the sense of like, you make music because you love music, and approaching sitting down, whether it's with a guitar or piano or at my laptop or whatever, to make a song, not of, oh, I need to make a banger today, or oh, I need to make this kind of track because it needs to be like this or sound like whatever that I'm trying to get to. But instead of sitting down from that perspective, coming in and sitting down like, I love playing music. I'm doing this to fill me, and whether it ends up on a track, whether anybody ever hears it, like sitting down to be like, hey, I'm playing music because playing music fills me up. And it was a really powerful thing, and like really hit me hard with us talking about it. And I feel like that applies to a lot of people, where if you are in a place, it doesn't have to be music, but whatever you're doing, like even if you are pursuing some creative thing, you know, acting, magic, music, whatever, you know, it's easy to hit that point where you're on that grind so hard because you're trying to make it work, you're trying to make it successful, you're trying to make it financially viable. And so it's easy for it to become that job that you're just pouring into it
Yep.
And remembering to take that time to sit back, even if you have to carve space for it. Like, you know, these things can happen in tandem, but coming back to be like, cool, this is for me. And this is something I'm going to do because I need this for me, because this fills me up to do.
That's huge. I get so stuck in the feeling like the shows I'm doing are not the shows I want to do, and the environment's not the environment, or it's not really my audience, I'm borrowing it. And I get so wrapped up in that I miss out on the just do the thing, man. Just freaking just realize, like, some of the best times I have is when I'm about to go perform for anybody. I mean, this could be anywhere. If I take the time and I think back and I go, all right, I'm going to just take a minute and go on my little time machine, go back in time and talk to 8-year-old Taylor and be like, buddy, you are about to go do the thing that you just wish you could have done. Even if it's a gig I'm not getting paid for, even if it's a type of environment that I didn't want to perform in, to talk to yourself and go, dude, you're here, man. You're doing it right now. It's not a someday thing. It's right now. And there's something about, like, that gratitude that puts you back in that spot of going, yeah, that's why I'm doing this.
Yeah.
It makes all the difference in the world, man.
For sure.
Dude, I want to go back to that food court and jump on that stage, and, you know, we could just do a, like, acapella song, and I can do a card trick.
That's what we could do. We could go find karaoke in Orlando after this tonight.
Oh, you know it would be the best.
Too lit.
What's one of the biggest things you've learned that helps you, like, mentally, when maybe you're doing a gig that's a paying gig but isn't something you love? Like, how do you keep yourself centered in those times when it's like you got to do the work that pays the bills, but maybe it's not the dream job?
Man, honestly, it's a constant battle. Like,
yeah,
legitimately, because, and we talked about this earlier before we were doing the podcast, but, like, this whole realm is, like, constantly feast or famine. So it's like you go through seasons and you're like, I'm making more money than I've ever made in my life. This is incredible.
Yeah.
And then you've got like 3 months that you're like, man, I made $15. Like, that was not as cool. I guess I should not.
I totally picture someone, like, making it rain and then a second later picking up all the ones.
Man, I think it's a couple of things. Like, I think number one, balance, in the sense of, man, who is it? Is it Clooney that's like one for me, one for them, with his movies?
No, tell me.
I thought
he does. That's
is that
cool.
him?
That
I
sounds
thought it
like
was
something he would say, man.
I thought it was George Clooney. Maybe it's somebody else. I could be
but,
misquoting
like, the
this.
idea that he takes a project that's going to be
where
like,
he does one that's like blockbuster for the people, and then he does a movie that is a movie he just wants to do because he needs to do it to keep that balance.
that's good.
And to be fair, like, there's not a blanket answer for everybody. Like, I think
Right.
you got to assess your own life and figure out what that balance is for you that you can line up in.
Yeah.
But I think being intentional about that balance of, like, cool, if I, you know, like, have a crazy couple weeks, I'm probably going to be pretty intentional about blocking off a week that I don't take other things.
Yeah.
That I either, like, go take a mini trip with my wife, or, like, block off some mornings to just, like, work on music and not leave my house and, like, hang out with my dog and jam and make, like, pop rock hits. And
Yes.
so, I mean, I think balance like that. I also think, like, when you get to weird, hard times, you got to, like, force yourself to remember, like, the really awesome stuff, and that kind of keeps you going.
Yeah.
Which, counter to what I think a lot of people believe, is not always the most glamorous stuff. Like, glamorous stuff is cool. I'm not going to pretend, like, arena shows are cool. I've
Right.
never hated playing an arena show. I'm
Right.
not going to pretend that I have. I'm not going to lie to people. However, like, some of the most impactful moments I've ever, like, had, like, I've only played one show in New Jersey, ever. And it was on a solo tour. I had never been there before. I didn't know anyone in the state.
Dude.
Actually, it was literally the only time I'd ever been there. And played a show and managed to have, like, 30 kids
Wow.
that came out to this hole-in-the-wall little bar
Yeah.
that was in off-season for New Jersey. Like, nobody was in the casinos nearby. Like,
Wow.
but those 30 kids lost their freaking minds. And it was one of the coolest things, like to go to a place that wasn't home, that I didn't know anybody there. And I had such a cool, powerful time with those kids.
Yeah.
Because they showed up for me. So I gave them everything I had.
Yeah.
You know, and I think like you just got to remember those times because hindsight's 2020.
Yeah.
I think it's hard too, like again, like all these like kind of dibby sayings, but like they're true in the sense of some of these harder seasons, you look back and you're like, shit, like
that was the time.
I hated it, but I needed it.
Yeah.
Like,
oh, dude.
You know, and that sucks. Like there's no making that sexy.
Yeah.
Like, and it still sucks in the moment.
Yeah.
Like, and I hate those moments, but I try and remind myself to like look back at seasons that were not my favorite seasons and be able to be like, that sucked, but there is something specific that had to grow in me.
Yeah.
That I either had to learn or get better at or cross a hurdle in.
Dude, last week I was talking to my wife and, it was a day, man. It was one of those days, you know, the days we all have them. And it was just like, I mean, it's one of these things where it was like, I had work, but we also had like insane, like we had to repair a bunch of stuff at our place that was tore up. And it was like, not like hundreds, it was like thousands of dollars that I didn't plan on. And then like, I have 2 daughters that like literally went to the dentist one day and the next day we're having to fork out like $7,000 for braces. Like all of these things, man, and then little stuff where it was like our friggin' $1,200 a month that we have to pay for health insurance came out a week early of our direct deposit. And I was sitting in the kitchen with my head in my hands, just going like, all right, man, make it to the next gig. And I went like from being super down to all of a sudden having this overwhelming sensation that I just need to like be present. Like, like I just heard like this voice, like call it God, call it whatever you want to say. But for me, I was just like, I felt like God was saying like, let this feeling right now, let it get in your bones. Like experience this moment because someday this won't be the feeling. There will be other challenges, but it's not going to be this. But remember what this feels like. And all of a sudden, it was the weirdest thing. I was like grateful for this moment of like financial challenge. Yeah. Because I was like, you know what, man, someday when I'm an old man, I'll be worrying about other things. Yeah. I'll be worrying about my health or I'll be worrying about whatever. I'm not going to be worrying about this. Yeah. And right now, I just need to live in this moment. And it's weird, man. It's weird how like you can find the beauty in the midst of like the nonsense that, you know, so often we can just complain and not be like, oh, dude, well, it's life. I'm living. Part of this is that you're alive, man.
For sure. I was listening to a lot of podcasts, so they start to run together, and I'm definitely going to butcher whoever said this. So sorry, but hopefully the principle lands. And it's actually like this health podcast. It's really interesting. Ben Greenfield. I can't remember the person he was interviewing, but his stuff's super dope. And it was a guy that was talking about how your brain and your body are not designed to be happy all the time, despite how people assume that and think that something's wrong, and how biologically it's not to be bad, but negative emotions and feelings are ingrained to invoke a change and to solve a problem. Wow. You know, because we live in a pretty comfortable lifestyle. Like our rough, like I haven't spent a lot of or any time in third world countries, but like our problems are not real problems, especially if we compare them to other people. But like we don't feel hungry, but the feeling is hungry is like, oh, to tell your body like, cool, I need to go hunt to find food to be able to nourish myself. Right. And just like all of these things. And I think unfortunately, like it's painful, but at the same time that happens in seasons to put you in a place that you're like, you can either be depressed. Right. And I'm not talking about depression. That's a whole nother thing. I'm not. Right. My wife's a counselor. Talk to her. She is way smarter on that side. I'm talking more about the lifestyle induced depression that we drink too much, we do too many drugs because, we're entertainers and that's how we cope with our life kind of problems. But I think sometimes you hit those stages in life that you can either choose to go drink too much.
Yeah.
I say this as someone that has done that in previous seasons and chose to let that be my coping mechanism when I wasn't as stoked about everything that was going on.
Yep.
Or you can choose to figure out what needs to change and what is happening right now to either teach me that I need to grow in something.
Yeah.
I need to change something.
Yeah.
I need to do something different. Because you do get a choice in that, in how you respond to that stimulus.
Yeah. Dude. It's so good, man. It's so good. I'm freaking fired up.
I'm glad.
Encouraged, man.
Good.
Thank you for not just taking the time, but for sharing your story, man, sharing your heart.
Dude, I love this stuff, man. I don't just say that. I think sometimes people think I just say that because it's a thing to say.
Yeah.
I love this stuff. I honestly, the reason we did the music stuff show, same reason. We genuinely are we want to help people do stuff that no one wanted to help us with. Or we had to learn the hard way. I love, not just creative people, but I feel like I know more in creative industries, but I love helping people succeed at what they dream about.
Yeah.
That gets me freaking hyped.
Yeah.
And I just love super real, genuine conversations with people that I dig hanging out with.
Dude.
So I love this stuff.
I love it, man. I'm blown away. I know we started by talking about how we haven't spent that much time together.
Yeah.
But it's just a reminder to me that when we stop rushing from one moment to the next, and we literally say I'm going to connect with this person, and not in a weird Hollywood entertainment networking, but I'm genuinely just going to be hey, what's going on, man? Or hey, where are you at in the world right now? How amazing is it that you get to experience this kind of stuff with people when you're just present with them?
Yeah, and it's okay to just pick up the phone. I didn't know you were here.
Right.
Neither of us knew that the other person was down in Florida, and the internet's a powerful place, and you see an Instagram post, and then you can either choose to be oh, I had no idea they were in town. I'm gonna keep living my life.
Right. Well, and you message on Instagram, you're dude, I'm in Florida too, and then I was text me. Where are you? It's crazy, man.
Yeah, man. People matter.
Yeah.
And not that it only happens in the entertainment industry. I think it's just pretty glorified in the entertainment industry, where networking is so gross. I hate networking so much. I hate networking events.
Right.
I hate mixers.
Yeah.
I hate that shit. Because not that there's not good people there, but it's never real. It is never the same as we're sitting here right now because we hung out and had drinks after an event we both had to work at 2.5 years ago, something like that. And Taylor freaking threw a card across the room and made it appear inside of a bourbon bottle that I still have.
Do you still have it?
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome, buddy.
Moments of could have just gone back to the room.
Right.
Nah, man. People matter. And honestly, people are cool. People's stories rock. Oh, and dude. I think people sell themselves short.
Yeah.
And if you take a few minutes to just I don't know, maybe ask someone about their life and genuinely listen.
Right.
And see where that rabbit hole takes you.
Oh, yeah.
You might make a friend.
It's so cool, man. It's so true. It's encouraging, man. Go out, guys. Go experience the world. Thank you for listening to this podcast. Now go talk to someone.
We're
going to go do something. You guys go do something. How can people get a hold of you or follow you? Or is there anything you want to plug or promote or share?
Man.
Season 1 of the Music Stuff Show. Go check it out.
Yeah, Music Stuff Show is still going. You can check that out. Man, anything Vance Fite. Honestly.
Yeah.
I'm not just saying that. I literally get hype when people hit me up and want to do something cool.
Do it.
I just love doing dope stuff.
Oh, that's
and,
awesome.
Help creating stuff.
What's the best way for them to get to you? Social media, website, email, text. Here's Vance's phone number. No,
I love you guys. I ain't that hardcore. Nah, at Vance Fite, like Twitter,
on all the things.
either the Twitter or the Gram. I deleted Facebook off my phone.
Oh, is it so much better?
So much,
I feel like I want to.
dude.
So bad.
It is game changing. Here's the thing, because if I need to interact on something,
Yeah.
which taking it off my phone has shown me how much that is
You don't
not
need
true.
to.
Yeah, man. I came to terms with the fact that like that's the one that I spent the most time scrolling, but never actually caring about anything. Like
Yeah.
Instagram, I'm usually pretty good about pruning every couple months to
Yeah.
where it's only people I'm trying to keep in
Right.
touch with or see what's going on in their life.
Yeah.
And I'm not famous, so Twitter is really easy to hit
Yeah,
me
yeah,
up,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I will quite literally respond to whoever
Oh, that's right.
sends me anything. Yeah.
That's awesome. Guys, go check. I'll put a link here so you can go right now. Just click on the little link and go drop Vance a message. Tell him what you thought about the podcast and its conversation.
Let's be homies.
Yes.
Keep a lookout. I feel bad too because it's like this is just a genuine conversation. It's not like I'm trying to plug something.
Right.
I will say there are projects in several months. So if you follow me now and we just become homies, you will know about the projects
There
down
you
the
go.
road.
I like that.
Which is honestly better anyway because I don't really like selling either.
It's the worst. It's so funny when we're both in entertainment and none of us like to promote ourselves.
That's why managers have jobs.
Yeah. All right, guys, go check out Vance. I'm going to turn this off. We'll keep talking. Thanks, buddy.
Bye.